Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4 o'clock on May 27th, 2025. This is the meeting of the School District of Springfield Township Board of School Directors Academic Affairs Committee meeting. We are pleased that you could all be here for probably our final meeting of the year, but you just never know with us academic affairs folks. Sometimes we like to throw one extra one in, but I'm not planning on it. We have a full agenda today. We have another presentation for the committee on our K-2 STEM course revision and update. Mr. Lutz is here. We're going to talk a little bit about enhancing communication and an opportunity for our next phase of efficiency. Dr. Dennis and Mrs. Schrager are here to talk about ESY 2025. Dr. Yannicone is going to provide an update in the equity audit, and we have some pending board motions. And so with that, and without any further ado, Dr. Yannicone and I would be remiss not to start our meeting by getting started with our ingratitude. Dr. Yannicone, whoopsie.
I just wanted to take a moment to recognize our student representatives to the Academic Affairs Committee. Anya and Isaac are here. I don't see Sophia just yet, but she has certainly been an active member along with Anya and Isaac this year. So thank you to both of you, to all of you for your work this year to provide student voice as a part of the Academic Affairs Committee. I think, quite frankly, probably more than any other committee, you have been actively involved in decision-making for this committee. So much gratitude to all of you. And I will be sharing certificates with each of you in recognition of your efforts this year on this voluntary committee. You'll have those by the end of the school year, which is rapidly approaching.
Goodness, no kidding.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
You two have been, and Sophia too, have been really outstanding participants. You've set the bar pretty high for this committee because I think we've made had lots of conversation and lots of relevant discussions, and you all have pushed in ways that exactly what we're looking for to help us think more deeply and more solidly about the decisions that we make and the way that it impacts the students who attend our schools. So I too, like Dr. Yannicone, I'm incredibly grateful for the time because it's, yet another after school activity for both of you who I know are not looking for things to do with your days. And so I'm super grateful. And then the engagement and activity has been fantastic. So thank you from me too. Any other comments from our committee? All right. Our first agenda item, as this committee knows, over the last few months, we've been providing updates on our STEM course updates as we bring our STEM and technology courses K-8 into alignment with the new STEEL standards and take the opportunity to review what we're offering. Mr. Berger represents the Enfield team in providing STEM classes there. And so he's worked closely with Mrs. Durham, who is one of our instructional coaches, to look at the STEEL's alignment and what we were providing and looking at some minor tweaks and realignment just to tighten up our offerings. And so I have asked them to be here this evening to sort of talk about the course overview. As you know, we had the middle school program here either last time or the time before. Mr. Berger's here today, and in August or September, we'll see Mr. Meyer, who will talk about the 3 to 5 program at Erdenheim. And so again, I want to ask Mr. Berger and Mrs. Durham to have a conversation with us about sort of their course overview proposals. Mr. Berger, is that enough of introductions or anything else I was going to say?
No, I think that's great. Yeah, I've been working a lot with Aaron. Really, I mean, looking at it without trying to read it, the slides verbatim, we started at the kindergarten level with some very basic skills. Technology skills with the iPads, different hands gestures, how to use the iPads, hold them and such, and building up into first and second grade, expanding upon those skills where they learn how to create their own digital stories in their digital work. Something my mantra or whatever I want to do is getting them away from being consumers and being creators with the iPads. So that they're not just sitting on the iPads and watching digital stories and things of that nature, but actually creating their own authentic work themselves. Even getting into the coding where they might start off very basic in kindergarten with something called BBots, is one of our resources where they start out very basic coding and then they work their way up in first and second grade, getting exposure to different robots and different types of coding where they go from directional coding into some block coding and even sometimes some like Python or Java, depending on different web-based activities that we do. Um, so it's just each each skill, each area we start out in kindergarten and then just go on from there, as well as tapping into the CKLA programs that they've been doing. For instance, the second grade team this year did the War of 1812, was something that they learned about in their CKLA. So we kind of took that and they did research in my class, and then they came up with like digital facts and digital stories for that. And we do the same thing in kindergarten, depending on what they're learning in CKLA, finding ways to tie into what they're learning in class, whether it's CKLA or science or social studies, and expanding upon what they're learning with some of the tech tools or other resources that we have, like Legos and different building materials that they can go through. We also talk about the engineer design process, going through that, identifying a problem, coming up with a plan, trying the plan and going through that. But just, I mean, again, starting at kindergarten with very basic skills and going through that as we go up through second grade. I'm not sure, like, what else. I mean, if there's anybody has questions or anything about what we do, I can even answer those instead of just kind of reading the slides there for everyone. But you know, really, I think starting in kindergarten, first, second grade, also we get into the growth mindset, which goes along with the engineer design process. You know, letting them go through some failure and building that grit and being problem solvers. So. Choosing the materials wisely. Why did they pick a material versus a different material? Whereas, you know, in kindergarten, I might give them the specific materials, but then in first and second grade, they'll have some more choice about the materials they can use. So, and then getting into that questioning, well, why did you choose it? Did it work? What didn't work? And revisiting the engineer design process. So if it didn't work, where did the problem arise? What do we have to go back and change?
Mr. Berger, I think just to give voice to the thing I heard you mention, but I think is a really important for this team to notice, is that technology and STEM, while interconnected, are not necessarily the same thing. And really what you talked about just now is that design thinking and problem solving and sort of application and ability to talk about and respond to questions about why they did what they did, really in a contained opportunity, but that you really work to across the 3 years that they're in classes with you to build that stamina for mistake making and trying and failure and then restarting to deepen their experience. And you talked a lot about that in the overall document and really helping children become more confident with that, regardless of the material, but really the skill, the life skill of being able to try something, figure out why you did it and what went wrong, and then redo it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, again, that's something for me is the growth mindset and just letting them know that it's a space where they're going to make mistakes, they're going to be challenged, but this is the place to fail because you're only going to learn from those failures. So it's letting them experience that failure and the hard times, but also demonstrating that for them as well as the teacher. You know, if I plan a lesson, it might not go as I planned, but being honest with them and having that conversation about what we wanted to do, what didn't work, and just having that so they can see, you know, as a teacher, we're not perfect. We make mistakes along the way, and that's how we learn about it. So just really setting an example for them there.
Mrs. Durham, Dr. Markle, anything you'd like to add from the Enfield side?
No, I just would like to, thank Mr. Berger and Ms. Durham for their hard work with this. As you can imagine, our students love their opportunity and time with Mr. Berger, once a week. But it's really cool to see the trials and tribulations of the students' experience with Mr. Berger, but also just the creativity that he brings. And I think that's what we were looking for too, is how do we continue to inspire our students? And so even though they might have one plan in mind, it quickly might go the other way. And Mr. Berger gives them that option and opportunity to explore different options. And so just want to thank him and Ms. Durham for your work.
Thanks, Dr. Marco. Mrs. Durham, anything to add?
Just that it's such an iterative process, and you really do see the growth from year to year as the students become more confident and when they start asking their own questions, that you've made it, you've arrived. When they start saying, well, what if I changed this, or what if we did that? And the cooperative part of listening to other students' ideas when they might really have a strong feeling about their own ideas. So it really is a great process to get the kids involved in.
Thank you all. Members of our committee, we are looking for support to roll out these course overviews and share them more broadly. Do you have any questions that would help you in making that recommendation? Comments, concerns, anything? Mrs. Bell?
There was something that Mr. Berger had said that just made me laugh about when you were talking about coding and you said just the basic of it. And I thought, I don't know how to code. I don't think the basics is the right word. But it
Mrs.
sounds
Bell, I've asked
incredible.
Mr. Berger to teach me to code too. I don't know how to do it either. So these kids are very impressive to me.
It sounds amazing. Thank you.
Dr. Aberly?
No, I agree. I think the younger kids can start this stuff, the better the opportunities they have as they get older. So yeah, I think it's a great approach.
All right, Mr. Berger. Dr.
It's
Teratowski,
Karen.
hello. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, how are you? Sorry.
Good.
I just wanted to ask, is this just the technology portion of the STEM for these grades, or are there other STEM sections to this curriculum? I guess I'm trying to get the broader scope.
So the overall STEELS standards are implemented across a variety of courses, primarily science, and then this is the STEM course, which is one of the specials courses offered at K to 5, well, K to 8.
Okay, and the STEM course is just technology?
Technology and engineering.
Okay, and so is it all on computer then? Or
No, we have,
okay.
we're iPads in our building, K1 and 2 are iPads, but we don't, it's not all on. We have consumable and non-consumable materials. So they'll do things like building with toothpicks, paper, tape, popsicle sticks, things of that nature. Like in kindergarten, they did the Three Billy Goats Gruff, and so they would build bridges out of Legos and things of that nature. But then like second grade did a similar, but they didn't use the Legos because the Legos are, snapped together and they piece together a lot easier. Whereas second grade, they would do something very similar and they would use like tape and things like that to try and build bridges that extended different lengths. So we do a lot of different engineering challenges. A lot of them do go along with like the books they're reading, CKLA, or even just children's books in general. We'll do some building with Legos. We have Kiva planks where like they look like Jenga pieces. And again, we'll do things with tape, paper, popsicle sticks, all different things. So we do mix in. We have the iPads, but then there's a lot of times where we don't even use the iPads and we're just doing blocks and buildings, things of that nature.
Thanks. I really appreciate knowing that there's the no tech, low tech.
Yes, I try and make a point to, I try to make a point where we have days or weeks where there's no technology at all.
Okay, thanks.
Mrs. Hubley?
I just wanted to say, like, as an educator, I really appreciate the cross-curricular with the LA program and the reading of the books and connecting like what they're reading with also doing these STEM projects. So I think you guys are doing a great job and I'm okay to go forward with this.
Excellent. We really appreciate everyone's support. Mr. Berger, Mrs. Durham, excellent, excellent work. And thank you for finding time to get this wrapped up before the end of the year. I know this has been a busy time of year for us all. So thank you very much. And while you're absolutely welcome to stay for the remaining parts of the agenda, I also understand if you have other things to do this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, all right. Up next, not to be outdone in terms of technology and efficiency, Mr. Lutz and I wanted to sort of share some work we're doing. As many of you know, we've been trying to find effective, efficient ways to build our systems across the district for faculty, students, staff, but not to be overlooked are our families. Mr. Lutz, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, so there's a couple things we wanted to look at, and it was really trying to streamline communication for families and to really help and support. They can go to one place for information. So Power School actually has something called Safe Arrival, which allows parents to put in attendance on the Power School app. They submit the absence and it'll go right into the system, streamline the process for admin assistants and making it simpler for parents to put in the absence, but also see if their child's marked absent or not. So a lot of times there's email or communication going back and forth, and so this would streamline that process. They can also track their child's attendance as well, and you get notification if they're late or there's an early dismissal. So that's a Safe Arrival.
Okay.
And then the next one we have here, so Power School has just come out with this. It's launching soon. It's called My Power Hub. And what it is, it's really one pane of glass for all the information from student grades to assignments, attendance, calendars. There's actually a communication feature where a parent can communicate with the teacher back and forth through Power School to ask questions and things like that. There's also a news center that they've created where newsletters and things like that can go in there. So if parents missed that email for the s'more, they can go in there and get access to the information of what's going on from their school or from other communications. So Power School's updated their parent app. And also parents can also do this with the website too, so you don't have to just use an app if you don't want to. And the really cool thing about this is that it supports multiple languages. So if a family speaks a different language, they can just set that language as their language on the app and on the website, and all their communication will come to them in that language. And then when they respond, it will go back to the teacher in their language as well. So it's we're excited about this because it's just that one single place that hopefully they can go for all that information. And there's actually more things coming down the pike too that they're adding onto here. So it should be that one place the parents can go and make life a lot easier.
I think one of the things we wanted to share is that we've continued to get sort of feedback, not only from parent advisory, but interactions from parents or emails that raise questions around, okay, well, I missed that one newsletter. Now I can't find it. Where is it? Where can I find it? My kid goes to 2 different schools. Where are all of these things in one place? And so we're trying to find a way to help centralize things so families don't have to continue to navigate. And there's a one-stop shop to ensure access to the information or links into the information that they need or want. Anya?
Yes, I just had a question for the attendance. If parents could notify, like if parents get notifications that their kid is absent, would that eliminate any calling from the school?
If we want that, so we're gonna have to have some discussions around this once we get approval. We can make it that it's just a communication through the app and possibly eliminate the calls, but we haven't gotten that far yet.
Thanks.
I have a similar question around that because what is the timeline? I've had a couple of times where I've had the text message come, but it's been at like 11:30 in the morning. My son gets on the bus at like 7 a.m. So, and it was just both times it was just like they misrecorded him at attendance. So would there be kind of like a shorter time window or like earlier notification in that case? Because I'm like 11:30 I'd be panicking saying he didn't get to school and he left at 7. So
my understanding.
Do you want to answer that, and Dr. Yannicone has her hand up when you're ready?
Okay. I can. Dr. White, you want to answer that? You want me to? Okay, so my understanding is that there's a process going through all the information of all the absences, and then once the absences come in, then those communications go out. I'm hoping this will streamline the process to make it a lot simpler for the admin assistants, so the communications can go out quicker.
I think
Thank
we
you.
sometimes have issues with Dr. Aberly, particularly if we have an absence of the attendance staff member. And we have other people covering, and so I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're mentioning, though. Dr. Yannico?
I just had a follow-up question for Anya. When you're asking whether or not it would eliminate the phone calls, do you have questions or concerns about that, or were you just checking to see how it would be communicated?
Well, I personally just have concerns with the phone calls, but that's with my own scheduling things about study hall and getting misrecorded for being absent. And I just know my mom doesn't particularly like getting the calls all the time and having to deal with it. But I was just wondering if that would be a notification, because like sometimes that's easier maybe for parents.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Me too.
I would share Anya's also about the phone calls, as I am also a parent who gets those phone calls all the time. So I think if it could get streamlined where you can know in a more, and to go along with what Dr. Aberly said, if you can know in a quicker way, and it could be, I like the idea that you would then be able to communicate with somebody immediately and you don't have to keep calling the office.
I do like the idea of everything being in one place as well, because sometimes I know like we'll get a newsletter, and because it's not searchable text, right? It's like a small where you can't actually like, it's like, oh, I know that there's like a trip or something coming up, and it's really hard to actually search the text body of the email. So if there's a place where you can go and like, oh, like when is the Hershey Band Park trip, and then you can just go in and search for that rather than trying to go through emails where it's really hard to find that specific those specific words, for example.
We totally agree. So I've taken some notes about that so that we can bring that back to the implementation team as we continue to move forward and try to get those kinds of systems refined as we roll out the new components. And then we have one more thing that came up as well, Mr. Lutz.
Yep. So
Oops, one more. There we go.
So one of the questions parents had is like, there's a lot of, so there are some accounts that we ask parents to access that aren't PowerSchool. So we have something we call ClassLink that we utilize with staff and students, and it's a place they can log in, and it gives them access to a lot of the different links and places we go for education. So we actually found out it's possible that they have a parent ClassLink page, so parents can actually create a login. They can go in and access things like I have listed there, the school cafe, that aren't connected to PowerSchool. And they actually have a password locker. So one of the things was, how do I remember all these passwords? So within PowerSchool, or within ClassLink, you can actually store your passwords. So you just click on the link and it takes you right there. So it's another, again, place that we can go, and we can actually put the PowerSchool, the hub, my PowerSchool hub, inside ClassLink. So it'll be there as part of the all the resources that are available, and parents can simply just click that. If they wanted to remember their password, they can. If they don't want it to remember their password, they can opt out of that and still type their password in. But then it helps them with not remembering those logins. And again, it's like that one place, one click for all the different resources, including that hub.
Uh-oh. There we go. One click too many on my end. And so our hope is, we've gotten some feedback from families that as we've built out all these systems and tried to be efficient, as I think Mr. Lutz alluded, remembering the password, what is that Arbiter Sports being where Family ID is like nearly impossible for some to remember. So the hope is that if it's all there with its function, it makes it a little bit easier for families to access, and it's one less email they have to send to ask the question of where am I supposed to go. So again, we've heard the feedback and we're trying to build out some systems to make it a little bit easier. Any questions or comments? Dr. Aberly?
Would there be links to like other documents in here? Like, I know we sometimes get like links to fill out forms for like class trips. Would those sort of things be in here as well?
We can put links to anything we want. So the
Okay.
school website can be on there. So this will definitely be something that we have a conversation about and see what would help for, and you can actually have different groups too. So we could have a group for different schools possibly, or even a folder for the schools. So there's information that the principals want you to have access to, even handbooks and things like that. We could put that in those folders. So really it's almost like a bookmark page, but we can organize it. And the nice thing is that the user can also add their own links to it as well. So if there's something you'd like to go to that maybe we haven't added for you, you can go ahead and put that link in there, and it's easy to click and get access to it. So it's pretty.
Oh, so you could you even do that for things like IEPs? Or is that asking too much?
It's not that it's asking too much. That's available to you through your parent portal in PowerSchool.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd be able to pull it down from there.
Okay. All right. No, that sounds good. Thank you.
Did we miss anything, Mr. Lutz?
I think we're good.
Any other questions from anyone on the committee? Mr. Lutz, same thing. We'd love to have you stay with us, but I understand if you have other things to do this evening. Thanks for being here.
I think Mr. Wexler had her run out, so I'm going to stay on.
Okay. Dr. Dennis and Mrs. Schrage, I'm going to turn the panel over to you.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Okay, good. So Ms. Schrage and I just wanted to connect quickly on extended school year for 2025. And just so, you know, we all on level playing field, extended school year is a requirement for special education services. The purpose of the program is to make sure students who have a history of either regressing on skills over long breaks in time, or students that are about to master skills and need to continue with that, have that opportunity through summer services. So students with special education needs that qualify for extended school year participate in that each summer. And Ms. Schrage has been doing an amazing job for many, many years, sort of building this program out. So we have several offerings that I'm going to let Ms. Schrage start with, and then we'll jump into some additions for this year.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Dennis. And so really actually they lead both in. But our array of ESY programs really mirror the level of service that we're providing during the academic year. And so our IEP teams are really diligently progress monitoring year long to look at ESY eligibility determination, which those ESY determinations really inform our coordinated ESY services and programs. So you'll see here that we have a continuum all the way from our full-time district program through supporting our students that are currently in out-of-district placements, but we continue to foster that partnership. Dr. Johnston, if you head to the next slide. As you could see, I want to dig into the data a little bit in a 4-year, a current year and a 3-year look back. We're continuing to serve and identify more, diverse and evolving student population. And based on that, we're expanding our programs. You can see here that our full-time district program really serves our low incidence population. It is a 9-2 program. It is robust and really mirrors comprehensive programming aligned with a large scale collaboration with our related service providers. We're continuing to grow our reading and math basic skills instruction and look to bridge that yeared growth and maintenance of skills between the school year. And same as we move into more of a secondary model through our itinerant programming. And then our related service model. But if you see here, something that Dr. Dennis in our next slide will talk about is a new addition in summer 2025 here in our enrollment of our half-day emotional support program, something that we've continued to evolve in this academic year where we're growing our itinerant and supplemental level services.
Sorry, as Nicole shared, we have added some emotional support programming to our ESY offerings this summer. So if you remember last summer, we talked about adding an emotional support teacher to both Enfield and Erdenheim. We did so this year, and we've been working very closely with them, along with some support from Patan, to really build out a larger continuum of services. So moving not just only students who need itinerant emotional support, but up through supplemental support. So we've really been growing those programs and adding to those structures. As a result, we're seeing more and more students coming into the school system with their IEP goals being behavioral in nature, and they are subject to the same eligibility qualifications for ESY as our academic goals. So we're seeing more students who are showing regression, who do need to master skills, and so we have to be able to meet that need in our extended school year programming. So we are adding to an itinerant ES program to ESY. So our elementary students and our secondary students in our emotional support programs will have access to classrooms that really have a strong behavioral basis, so that they can continue to work on those pro-social goals, those self-regulation goals, to set them up and on good footing for the upcoming school year. The other addition, it's not a true new addition, but what we're really trying to move back towards, from those ESYs that were a little bit impacted by COVID, but really making sure we have an integrated community-based instruction model for our students in our full day program. So making sure that that community and work-based instruction for our low incidence students is connected, that it's aligning with our functional goals and our standards for students, so that we're really continuing to support them to reach, their highest heights. We want them in their post-secondary time, mostly to really be ready to be employed. And so that those are the things that those programs are really looking at. And in relation to that, our related services providers are really looking for ways to give that authentic time in those real life situations. So bringing in the communication skills in those community-based learning environments, our OT and PT skills, our navigation skills out in the community. So really making sure that those are things that we are explicitly targeting, not just during ESY, but across our school year. And then our last big addition, we've had some, really, I think, important, impactful changes in the last year. After Carson Valley closed, we've really looked at, how do we look at the supervisor role and really build that out. We've had a lot of success this year, and sort of Nicole and myself breaking the district into 2 buildings each and being present in those 2 buildings and supporting, teachers, administrators, and our students most of all in those settings. And so as we are building that momentum, and as our ESY is also growing at the same time, we're really looking at how do we support, that day-to-day running of the program and the administrative oversight that we need. So what we're looking for this year is to look at adding a lead teacher, and I think that's on the next slide, Dr. Johnston. I'm sorry. Adding a lead teacher to our ESY program, who will really be there to support the day-to-day runnings of the program. They are really going to be working with, establishing that we have coverage in all of our spaces, that our paraprofessionals are where they need to be, that everyone has access to the progress monitoring and programs that they need to have, and just overall supporting that program while Nicole is really our strategic overseer and is creating all of the classrooms and identifying all of our needs, having that support, so that she doesn't necessarily have to be tied to that building every day over the summer, so that we can do some of those larger district-wide strategic planning items that we need to do for our buildings in the summertime through special education. So right now, that'll look like 2 staff members because we have a little bit of construction going on. And so our ESY is broken into 2 buildings, probably most definitely this summer and probably next summer as well. But then our plan is really to bring those programs back together. It runs more smoothly when we have everybody in one building, and our nurse is really at one spot and our BCBA can be at one spot. So it is helpful when we have everyone at one building. So our long-term goal is that we have 1 lead teacher supporting that program. But right now it will look like 2, so that we can cover both of those buildings until we can bring our program back together. So that's our overall view of ESY. I'm happy to take any questions about our programming or our planning.
Hi, Dr. Dennis. I have a question. So what buildings will the students be in? I'm guessing it's middle school and maybe Enfield, but
So they're going to be at the high school and at
Okay.
Erdenheim this year. So middle
Okay.
school is, I think, traditionally,
Out
and
of
Dr. Schrage, correct me if I'm wrong, I think traditionally there or the high school have been our locations. But with construction at the middle school this year, we had to make some changes. And I know there's some continued work, throughout the high school. So we broke it off into two sections for the time being. But again, our goal is to really have them back together once some things settle down.
And with the because the way that you had the program separated up, and it's really interesting that you have that emotional support piece. Is it kind of like equally split across the buildings, or is there what does that look like in terms of the split?
Do you want to tackle that, Ms. Schrage? I saw you on mute.
Absolutely. I think you captured it perfectly. We will have our students K through 5 elementary receive their coordinated services in their respective elementary buildings. So our full-time district program, all offerings that you saw noted there will happen K-5 at Erdheim, and then our secondary model at the high school will run parallel and have the same. We will be sharing related services providers in which it is pretty similar and mirrors how sort of navigating buildings during the academic year too. So that is something that we are used to navigating, but then it will really help with sort of equipping students with like age appropriate groups. And then also having our ESY programs continue to work structurally as a cohort, teachers working together, related services working together, and truly through that consultative model.
Okay, so the ESY will still be split by grades then, it sounds like. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Dr. Aberly. Other questions or comments about the ESY offerings for the coming year? And the shifts we're making?
Dr. Johnson, I just
Julie?
have a question.
Of course.
Now that there will be 2 people overseeing it, I'm assuming that's a cost that's picked up by the school district.
It is.
I guess my question is like, was that budgeted? And I understand that it's just going to be for the 1 year, but it's a curiosity question about budgeting. And do we anticipate that, knowing that we were doing construction at the middle school, or is it something that's
It's a great question, Mrs. Hubley. I'm going to take the first pass, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Dennis and Mrs. Schrage to help represent if I miss anything in our thinking. And I think one of the struggles that we've had is to try to not add oversight to the ESY program because Mrs. Schrage has been dedicated. The move to the 2 facility, when we made them a decision to not go together to one location, all to the high school, one of the advantages, as I know they may have mentioned a few minutes ago, was the opportunity that there are some other young children like in the camp programs, both at Erdenheim and Enfield. And by moving the elementary program to a place where there are other K-5 students might allow some interaction with typically developing peers, which is an advantage. So we made the decision, and then we've been trying to troubleshoot like what's going to come up if we're in 2 different facilities. If this happens, what? If this happens, what? So we've been talking about a lead teacher. The recent change was given some shifts in how we were allocating resources and staffing. It's the addition of 1 position, which we converted from what we were expecting it to do was to provide itinerant service. We had fewer needs for itinerant services. And so as we refined that, the costs are, I think we're picking up costs of about $13,000, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the excess that we were picking up. And so that was the unbudgeted amount. Mrs. Green and Dr. Yannicone and I have worked very closely to ensure that we are able to utilize other funding streams. We do have access dollars that are available to us as a part of our funding and providing of related services and other supports through medical access. And so we are accessing that funding stream to pay for the differences. Did I miss anything, team?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
It does, yeah. Thank you.
It's a great question. And when we were, it took us a while to all come to consensus on efficient, appropriate amounts of resources to allocate to ESY. But as you can see in that data, we continue to serve more kids, which is the right number, and we're keeping them in-house more. So I think that's really good news. as all things have, is a flip side to the coin, is to make sure we have the right staff available to respond in the event we need it, without overly burdening our building principals in the summer who may or may not even be there. And so making sure that the right teams are available and that we can be there quickly in the event it's needed.
So I have a follow-up question to that around like nursing. So is there nursing in each building then?
Team?
Yes. I'm sorry, Nicole. I jumped in. I think we unmuted at the same time. Yes, there will be nurse support in each building.
Okay. I mean, I know they're like close, but yeah, it's
And
sometimes not close enough.
We looked
Dr. Yannicone and I
carefully.
spent some time talking about that, Dr. Aberley, about how close they are and how close is close enough and how
I
close is
know.
too far in the
Yeah.
event of an emergency, right? Like it's
Yeah.
one thing to say, oh, we're going to walk over and share resources.
Yeah.
It's another to say something happens. So we've been talking, I mean, this is part of why we're bringing this to you in the end of May, is because it's taken us a long time to
Yeah.
come to something that we can all agree feels appropriate and reasonable. Dr. Dennis, do you think that represents it fairly?
It does, yes. And I'll just, shout out Ms. Schrage a little bit too. She really worked closely with the nursing department to look at each student coming to ESY to talk about those things. What are the daily needs in those emergencies? What would be expected, and how can we best make sure that we have appropriate coverage for all students?
Yeah, because of course these are some of your most complex kids where something is more
Definitely.
likely to happen. So yeah,
Correct.
That has been the
really
discussion.
appreciate. I really appreciate that thought. Like the whole process. Like how close is close enough, right? So that at least the community can understand the due diligence that's done around that.
And we felt like it was really important to bring it here in the event there are questions or concerns, because some of these items will be on a board agenda, and we wanted you to understand sort of we didn't do it lightly. We took our more time than probably would have been preferred to the team responsible for ESY, which starts in a very few number of weeks. But I think by doing our due diligence, we came to a really good consensus that we all felt like was in the right interest of not only our taxpayers in terms of the costs, but our staff in terms of getting the resources that they need, and then our administrators to make sure that they can do both, operate a high quality summer program while also continuing to build out our program for the 10-month school year.
I have two other questions. So one is around like lunch. So I know that in previous years there has been maybe free lunch. I can't remember for ESY. Am I recalling that correctly?
You're
Mrs.
spot
Schrage,
on.
I'm going to talk to you, let you take that one for us.
Sure. Yes, free lunch or lunch will still be available for all students across ESY. And so lunch meals will be provided. We have a contractor that will be providing the prepared meals. We'll continue to have a lunch calendar so students can elect, whether they would like to participate and have the school provided lunch over the summer. And that will happen both Erdheim at the high school.
Okay. No, thank you for that. And the last question I had was around the emotional support piece, because that's obviously new. Is that because at the elementary level they're seen as more of a need for that, or is that across all age groups?
Right now, it's really spanning through our middle school. I think it's stemming from we're seeing more students who have behavioral goals, just as a general, anecdotal piece of data that we have in the district. And as a result of that, the likelihood of eligibility for ESY increases because they're held to the same standard. If they're regressing, if they're not making progress, if they meet any of the 7 criteria for ESY, we are obligated to provide, support for that. And so when we looked at students who are starting to qualify even last year, we knew that we were going to have to start dedicating some of those resources to a true behavioral classroom where students could be getting those needs met and those services provided during the summer.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad we're able to have that sort of diversity and support across the different types of cohorts that we see. So
yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Any final questions or comments? Thanks, Dr.
It's Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Oh, sorry. Hi, sorry, I'm just a little slow on the mute button there. I just want to clarify, this lead teacher will not have a classroom or instructional group for the summer during ESY. They're sort of solely, coordinator-ish duties.
They'll be working as a coordinator and they'll also be doing some of the itinerant services. So as Dr. Johnston said, we're
Okay.
kind of collapsing that role because we don't have as many itinerant students. So they'll be using some of their time for that responsibility, but then also being that coordinator, boots on the ground, for the day-to-day programs. But they won't be assigned to students for the whole day so that they can be responsive to the needs.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. I wasn't sure whether there just wasn't a need for itinerant and we were just using that person or if those were being merged, but that's helpful. Thanks.
Dr. Dennis, Mrs. Trage, I really appreciate it. Mrs. Trage, I think that ends your engagement. Dr. Dennis, I have one more item that will require your attention in a minute. Mrs. Trage, as always, you may stay if you'd like to. All right. Certainly not last but not least, almost there. Dr. Yannicone is going to provide a brief overview of our equity audit.
Hello, everyone. So as you know, we've been working through the winter and spring on our equity audit. This is just a quick hit review for you of the components of the equity audit at this time. So we have conducted a review of our 3-year equity action plan and board policy. As we've discussed previously, the Mid-Atlantic Equity Consortium was working with us initially following changes at the federal level in early February. They no longer are working with us, but we did use their criteria for equitable schools, which is an assessment tool that has been really helpful to our staff in reflecting on where we are and where we'd like to head with our next equity action plan. So we also looked at longitudinal survey of belonging results. These are 4 years of results, 3 times a year, of our students in grades 4 through 12. And then we also reviewed our longitudinal family survey results. And these are annual surveys of families that we have done for 4 years as well. We also conducted a very thorough multi-year data review for where we are with regard to disaggregated attendance, discipline or behavior data, standardized testing data, and our graduation rates. And then we conducted a review of all professional development offered in the district that could be considered a component of creating cultural competency in our staff. And then finally, we've held a series of listening sessions with community groups, parent groups, affinity groups at our middle and high school, and our student advisories, as well as our faculty at each of our schools. And so we've had some pretty comprehensive data sets. The current report prepared by Dr. Lutz is over 100 pages long. And our administrative team is now in the process of reviewing those findings. So we began this month, in the month of May, to take a look at the report and all of those data sets. We'll continue to review that as an administrative team this summer. And then we are going to develop strategic goals for the next 3 years. Over the course of this summer, we'll present them to this committee at the end of the summer on August 18th. And then we'll hopefully have the board engaged in the adoption of the equity action plan, as was the case several years ago. Our goal is to hit that on the first board meeting in September, and then to begin implementation immediately. And then we'll continue with our reports to the community. We've been reporting out to the community quarterly through Dr. Lutz's Equitable Practices newsletter. And then I also include them in my seasonal newsletters and our annual presentation to the board, which will now be in June of each year, because we're shifting from a calendar year to a school year model for the equity action plan. And so our anticipation is that if approved in early September, we would present on the first year's goals this time next year, beginning of June. And so that's just a brief overview of where we are with the equity action plan. I'm happy to take any questions, and we look forward to bringing it forward to you later this summer.
Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Dr. Yannicone, you are not able to leave us. You'll need to stay for the rest of the items. I've asked Dr. Markle, Mr. Spiker, and Dr. Dennis to hang out a little bit longer, mostly because we have pending board motions that we have planned for our next board meeting, which is hard to believe, but is already next week. And so yet again, I'm bringing forward our recommendation for our annual contract with Linkit. As you know, that's our comprehensive data warehouse. Every year we get more and more bang for our buck and more sophisticated in the data, and the product continues to evolve to ensure that it's really helping us help our staff understand how to access the data on a variety of measures. While it still holds primarily standardized testing, it also is increasingly holding other kinds of data, attendance, grades at the high school, PSAT, SAT, and AP results, so that we can continue to look at how our students are doing in preparing for their life after high school. We administer a variety of assessments on Linkit, including our benchmark assessments in grades K through next year 10 in ELA and in target courses in algebra. And then we also have math assessments in there and growing science assessments also aligned to those standardized tests. And so that contract for that project for next year is $44,583.89. And that it is an increase. They did have an increase because of the cost of the product and some additional things that they're adding. There is a rumor that they will be launching in the next few months an AI bot to assist teachers in using AI to access their student data for their classroom to give them more specifics on sort of overall student performance. But we'll hope to learn more about that this summer and next fall. And so I am looking for an okay to move forward and put this on the agenda for June 6th, 3rd. You'd think I could just spit it out, but I can't. June 3rd. Is that okay with the team?
It's okay
Yes.
with me,
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm good with that. Mhm.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Okie dokie.
I just have one question about that. Where are the data actually stored? Is it like cloud-based, or is it okay, it's cloud-based. All right, thank you.
Yes, and Mr. Lutz offsite. It's not here. They have it. Mystical cloud, right? You can see I'm really fingers in and deep into the knowledge, right? Is that it? The cloud thing? Yeah, I'm really hip. That's so cool. All right. Anything else about Linkit? All right. I asked Dr. Markle and Mr. Spiker to be here because I really wanted to talk about how, as we've already talked about with this team and the overall board, the effectiveness of our first year of CKLA. I want to again publicly share with you all that Dr. Markle and Mr. Spiker have done an incredible job of really listening to, working with, and supporting their team in the implementation of a really fantastic product, which would not be fantastic if you don't have great implementation. So part of why it's been so fantastic and why it's going so well is because they've supported their teachers, the good, the bad, and the hard, and getting it done and listening to their feedback and gently, but yet appropriately pushing them forward and supporting them as they've made this change. And one of the things that came for free naturally in the first year of the product was the use of the Boost self-selected reading materials. And so after a few months of getting to trial that for free, the team is recommending that we purchase license for Boost for the next 3 years. And that allows kids, that's the core instructional piece. Did I miss anything about Boost, Ben, Meg?
I think just to name like this, it's an ed tech product, right? So so this is it's it's computerized, like something that can both be for core instruction, also for intervention and challenging kids. And it adapts to what students are working on, and so there's both ability for teachers to sort of direct students to work on certain topics, and it also can just sort of based on what kids already know how they're doing, can work from there. And so like it's a really good sort of option to sort of just have as another tool in the classroom, you can look for centers, for independent time, for when a teacher is potentially working with like some students on some extra in-person work. Other students can be working on Boost. teachers like really like first started to dive into this in January or so, and have really liked it, as have kids. So we think it's a really we sort of like dipped our toe in the water this year, but we're like really excited to to dive in deeper with the work than in the coming years.
And just as a Dr. Mark, give me one thing I did want to mention is that in the past, as I know some of you have had children who are a little bit older, may have used Reading A to Z or Epic Reading. This is sort of a similar kind of product, but it's a little more curriculum based, and we have an ability to operate it from the district perspective instead of teacher by teacher. And I think it gives us more robust data on how it's being utilized so that we can ensure implementation. Dr. Markle.
That's what I was going to explain, that we've always used some type of ed tech program, but just makes sense to use the one connected to CKLA. So we were on the same point, Dr. Johnson.
It has a secondary benefit as well because it's definitely aligned to a component of assessment for reading. Which of you drew the straw on talking about M-Class?
Yeah, I'll take that one because Mr. Spiker gave such a nice overview of Boost. But it is important. We often talk about the universal screener that we use. It's important that we have some checkpoints along the way for us to monitor our students' progress. And so in the past, we've been using Acadience, and so we'd like to make the switch to M-Class, which measures very similar things, the same things in essence as well, but it speaks nicely to CKLA and the Boost program. And so we've used Acadience in the past to get information during the fall, winter, and spring. But we can also use that for progress monitoring and other decisions. And we can do the same thing with M-Class, but M-Class would give teachers suggestions and information of what students should work on. And then it ties nicely into the Boost program. And so we would be taking away the use of Acadience and then putting in the M-Class as our universal screener.
Yeah. Just for folks who might not be familiar with both Acadience and M-Classic, these are they are one-to-one assessments. So a kid sits with an adult and they do a series of 1 minute measures for fluency, for word reading, for phonics skills. And so I'm like, this is like really our early literacy screening, and Acadience and M-Class are 99% the same, but this would allow us to, as Dr. Merkel said, to be able to take that really rich data that our teams already do a lot with, but to even maximize it even more, because then it would also tie into Boost as well.
Mrs. Hubley, you have a question?
I do. So it sounds like your teachers have had experience using the Boost part of the program. Have they had experience using the M-Class part of it?
Not with us, sorry. I would say so M-Class administration is primarily something, it's not like something that every teacher has to be an expert in, because it's primarily done through our reading specialists. And so like while like M-Class itself will be new to almost all of them, it is virtually identical to Acadience. There's sort of like a long and complicated like copyright fight history that explains all of this, but they're basically the exact same product, just being offered by two separate companies. So we anticipate the transition from Acadience administration and training over to M-Class to be very smooth.
Yeah, if I could add on to that too, our reading specialist did take a look at M-Class too, just to make sure it is giving us the same information. We can have the same benefits. And my reading specialist shared that they felt it was even more user-friendly than Acadian. So they're actually excited to potentially have this opportunity.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I just as an example, we traditionally, Erdenheim, have tested all of third grade and selected fourth and fifth graders. I'm an after reading specialist. They got sort of into the weeds on M-Class and Boost and how it could all like work. They actually advocated for us to test all of fourth and fifth graders, even though it means extra work for them, because they were really excited about the potential for how this could all tie together for our students.
Can I ask a follow-up question? It's a cost related thing. So I'm assuming the Acadians using that had a cost. And am I right to assume that the M class, and I don't know if Dr. Markle and Mr. Spiker are the right ones to answer this, but is it a similar cost?
Dr. Markle?
I don't know number for number, to be honest, but I do know we had a cost with Acadians and some of the other like ed tech programs we were using, and so we would be not paying for some things to be able to have some money. I'm not positive if it's matches up exactly.
I'll include it in our minutes for today. We're about to talk about Renaissance, which is the product that provided STAR early literacy and STAR 360, which we are exponentially reducing our agreement with them for the coming year. And that's part of where we're recouping some of the funds. We do have an annual use agreement with Acadians that we've used for the past few years. And so we'll terminate that agreement as well as a part of this move. So the goal was to be more efficient and purposeful and look at assessments that were not only useful in helping us look at overall district and elementary progress for our students, but more specifically user-friendly for the teachers to create easy segue and bridge between assessment and instruction. And the more ways we can put that right in front of them and make it easy seems to us to be a powerful lever that we can activate in the classroom to further enhance the instructional practice of our faculty.
Dr. Johnston, I'm
Teratowski?
wondering if there might be, and this might require a little bit of work, but like a reference for us as a board of what ed tech programs we use, what they're used for, and just kind of so that we can get a sense of, as you spoke of a couple of things, you spoke about, reading A to Z and epic learning and those kinds of things. And, have we used those this year? Just kind of looking at where is there overlap? Where are we stopping and starting, on kind of piggybacking on Mrs. Hubley's question, where would we be saving money that could be also put towards this program or the new Boost in M-Class program, et cetera?
I love this question so much, and I'm so glad you're asking it this year and not last year, because last year we had a plan, but we couldn't do it. But this year we are so ready, and Mr. Lutz is still here. So we talked earlier about the opportunity for our families to use a component of ClassLink. And so ClassLink is a landing page. And so what ClassLink will allow us to do, and Mr. Lutz, you're going to give me a shot to do this, and then you're going to help jump in and rescue me if I go off on a tangent, right? And incorrectly? Okay. What I think is really important about that is the more we've been able to roster students, meaning connect our student classroom enrollment to the products that we use and pay for, we've been spending all year trying to tighten that system up because we can enter in the cost of the ed tech product that we're using and review its usage, because the students will access that ed tech product through that landing page. So we can start to take a look, Dr. Teratowski, exactly what you're talking about, because Mr. Lutz and I have spoken about this along with our teams regularly. Like, why do we need 3 things that all basically do the same thing? Or how do we understand what's uniquely special about this one for maybe the middle school versus the elementary school? But what's been difficult is there are many products, as you're well aware, that staff can sign their classes up for because they're anonymous and they can use free versions, and then they can access them through the internet. And then we don't even know they're necessarily being utilized for instructional purposes versus things that are where we're rostering them, we're in control, we know they're aligned, and then we're able to then access, okay, so we paid for X, I'm going to use Reading A to Z, even though we have ended that contract for exactly this reason. It was no longer being maximized, and the data was beginning to show us that for the cost of the licenses, we were over purchasing. And so the same thing with some other products that we're using. So Mr. Lutz and I are working between our administrative assistants, our teams, and ourselves to regularly look at what do we know. And then we're meeting with the principals and having conversation. Right now, that's a limited number of products. I'm going to call our big ticket items, but we're looking to continue to expand that as our systems become more aligned and efficient, and we can trust that the data truly reflects what we're paying for. It comes up with online textbook use. So we pay extra fees to have online textbook use. Are we getting the most bang for our buck? And then having conversations with our teachers about what was helpful about it or what wasn't. How'd I do, Mr. Lutz?
Really well.
I was listening in our meeting. See,
Yeah.
I was listening in our meetings.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah, I
Terahusky,
think
did
that
that
would
help?
it does help. And, you know, again, I think it's helpful for the board as these things come up. You know, and we're approving contracts and, you know, we're very supportive of all the ed tech contracts, but there are so many. There are some that are free. There are some that are paid. There are licensed per student, blah, blah, blah. So it would be helpful to just make sure that we're really not duplicating our efforts or paying for things that we're not getting the return on. Yes.
We absolutely agree with you 100%. And in our due diligence, had to build the system internally to be able to figure that out because there's so many ways kids and staff can get to those ed tech products. Now, as we continue to centralize it to a rostered system, we can run a one-to-one. Okay, we have this many licenses for STAR. Here's how many are being utilized. Here's the percentage of that. And then we have these analytics that allow us to dig in. And I think that's what we're hoping for, so that we can confirm that what we're spending our money on is getting us the outcomes in our classrooms that we were intending or for our students, and secondarily being utilized. So,
Okay.
you know, but we'll continue to bring that information forward. I'm hoping maybe Mr. Lutz and I can share that data report maybe in next year, one of our academic affairs meetings next year. Mr. Lutz, we can like report on the data we have so far, and then what were what sort of our metrics for next year.
For sure.
Would that be helpful?
I think so. I mean, I think it would be helpful to have that data, but also just the informative, what programs are we using? What level are we using them at? How much does it cost per year? And just to understand, you know, what the difference between each program is. So a bit of a reference, but then yes, next year looking more so at what are those user, you know, what's the end user look like, kind of.
And I think making sure that our public understands that we're carefully diligent about that, because like you said, these are big ticket items. And so how are we looking at the efficiency and its usefulness? So I made a note for myself to ensure that we include that in a presentation next year.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, we could have a meeting in June, but I thought maybe we'd be done for this year. And so, yeah, everybody's like this. So we could do it next year. All teasing aside. Any other questions around M-Class and Boost for Mr. Spiker or Dr. Markle?
No.
Those were great questions and good conversations. Thank you both. I appreciate you being here. All right, and last but not least, Dr. Dennis, you hung out to the very end. We've made some substantive changes, as I've referenced a couple minutes ago, in how we're using Renaissance. And so, Dr. Dennis, do you want to talk about the new and improved usage for next year as we reshift around our licenses?
Sure. So with elementary and secondary moving more to link it, the DIBELS to these other programs, we still use STAR in special education for progress monitoring for our goals in reading and math. So we will maintain that program for the upcoming school year, because many of our special education goals already center around STAR progress reporting. So we reduce that cost. It's not for every student in every building. It'll be just for students that are identified. In addition, I did give like a 25 student bump and a 30 student bump at the secondary level, 25 at elementary, just to make sure we are anticipating growth in special education each year at our buildings. But we will continue to use that product. I think in speaking with Dr. Johnston last year, with the larger population, it was a little over $50,000. We've cut that almost in half. So we are reducing that, but still using that tool as it is part of our progress monitoring suite.
Any questions for Dr. Dennis on the use of Renaissance for next year in special education?
No.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Dennis.
Thank you.
So those are the four board motions you can expect. We'll put the Renaissance link it, and then the combined M-Class and Boost. That's both, those products are sold to us by Amplify. And so that'll be a combined motion, but I did separate the cost and will in the motion as well. Okay to proceed with all of those to the agenda?
Yes.
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 Awesome. All right, that is the last I have of the items for today. Again, I wanted to do my shout out to Anya and Isaac and Sophia for their constant participation and presence this year. We've really appreciated it, including today's final meeting. And so I just didn't want to end the meeting without saying that. As far as I know, we do not have any public participants this afternoon. Sure, folks will just take in the information on their recording. So I wanted to check and see if the committee had any final questions or comments before we wrap up this evening.
I just want to second what Dr. Tarotowski said about just kind of understanding that breakdown of the different programs and what they're targeting, who they're targeting, and especially like the acronyms. I'm often like looking up the acronyms because I don't fully understand what they mean. So I think that would be super helpful as just like a little guide for us.
Dr. Lutz and I will start, Mr. Lutz and I will start to work on that this summer, try to figure out how to put it in a digestible, be careful what you wish for kind of thing. The list is, we have that list. I mean, we can pull it up right now, but I caution you all to be careful what you wish for, but I'm happy to get it for you. Absolutely.
It's fine. Just thank you for all the work that you've done this year with the administration and staff and so many things that we have discussed in academic affairs. And it's been a very productive year.
Thanks, Dr. Tarotowski.
Yeah, second that.
We all appreciate all of your support, and the questions really help us sort of predict what you might ask so that we can be prepared to have that information for you, because it helps us continue to do a really solid job of getting you the best quality information, sharing it with our students, our families, and our community at large. So that's what's so great about this team and this committee is the engagement, but the helping us to do a good job in our messaging. So I appreciate it very much. Dr. Yannicone, any comments before we wrap up this evening?
I'll just thank the members of the committee and you, Dr. Johnston, for your leadership. And again, thank our students for being with us and congratulate them on almost being seniors.
Almost seniors.
Senior year.
Hopefully they'll have enjoyed this experience and take it forward in their next steps.
Good.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Team, our scheduled next meeting, because I know you're wondering, is August 18th at 4 o'clock. And as a major, what's it called? I can't think of the word. Anyway, we're going to talk about student handbooks and the code of conduct for each of our buildings. So before the school year starts, we're going to go big or go home, start with a big pressing topic. So Dr. Lutz will be here on behalf of the building principals to share her recommendations for the handbooks and code of conduct. So August 18th. Any other final comments? And Dr. Aberle, are you cool if I send you the minutes?
The minutes, yes, please. I'll take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and I'll see you next time.
Take care.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Isaac.
you.
Thanks, Anya.